Hey, it's Christine, Manifestation Queen, here to remind you of your manifestation power. I have a pretty wild story, a manifestation that backfired, and then I had to quickly turn things around. And stick with me to the end because I think this will really help you if you're seeing in your 3D world something that you don't like, and it's showing you the opposite of what your desire is and how you can transform that so that your 3D world reflects your desire. So, my story starts about a few weeks ago. My dog, who is 12 years old, he's still my puppy, but he's getting old, started to have breathing problems. Sounded like something was like stuck up his nose. Took him to the vet, found out that he had a cancerous lump in his nose, but they couldn't do surgery because it was very close to his brain. And he's older, so unfortunately, it's just kind of his time to move on. Eventually, he started to bleed out of his nose. It was a slow drip at first, but then it progressively got a little worse. And I decided to affirm in my head over and over because there was nothing I could really do besides kind of manifest or pray. I would say over and over in my head, his nose is all healed up. He's going to be fine for at least one more summer. He's going to be around for one more summer. His nose is all healed up. His nose is all healed up. His nose is all healed up. And it did get a little bit better. The bleeding did stop. And I was chatting with my mastermind group and I was bragging about how I manifested my dog's healing. A few days later, and I did have the thought that, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't brag about this. I did have a little bit of a thought, like, oh, what if it starts bleeding again? A few days later, it unfortunately did start bleeding again, but it was to the point where it was massive. Like he was sneezing and blood was pouring out of his nose. There was blood all over my kitchen floor, all over the cabinets. And there was chunks of like tissue along with the blood. My husband and I were like, my husband kept saying, I hope he doesn't bleed out like all the way because there was so much blood coming up. And he called the vet and they didn't really have much that they could recommend that we do other than, just if it gets worse, obviously put him down. You don't want him to be in pain. But I was like, no, I am not accepting this. So as I was cleaning up the blood, I was saying over and over in my mind, his nose is 100% healed. It's 100% healed. I was totally ignoring what was going on, ignoring all the blood as much as I could. I would even like try not to be around him as much so that I could get my mind focused on it's healed, it's not bleeding anymore. And I would visualize his nose being completely clear, no blood around it, just very clear. He's 100% healed. He's staying around for one more summer. I would repeat those over and over and over. After 2 days, the bleeding stopped. And it's been a week now. And the bleeding has been very minimal. And he's actually feeling a lot better. And I had the thought maybe it's like he needed to release that gunk in order to heal. So maybe it was like a bad situation, but in the end, it was good for him to just clear it out. Because actually, he's breathing a lot better as well. I don't know if you can hear him in the background, but he's sitting next to me. Maybe I'll bring him up after. So, also during this whole 2 week bloody episode, I was actually impressed with myself that I didn't allow my 3D circumstances of him almost bleeding out or whatever, scariness that was. I did not freak out. I know in the past, if I, before I knew about manifesting, I would probably totally freak out and be like, this is it. This is the end of him. I'd probably be crying. I didn't do any of that. I just held the faith. And I honestly had doubts. I didn't know which way it was going to go. Either he was going to be healed or he was ready to go. And I think because I chose to focus my mind on him being 100% healed, that he was going to stay around for one more summer with us because he loves the summertime. It's February now, so in a few more months, it'll be summer. And then if he's ready to go after that, he's lived a very good life. And I know he's getting old, so he's probably achy and things like that. But I stayed in the wish fulfilled as much as I could. And at night before I went to bed, I would saturate with my mind that his nose was all healed up. I would just visualize that. I would repeat it over and over. And it honestly still blows my mind that he is healed, because if you saw the amount of blood, it was pretty crazy. So, learning lesson for you. Your 3D reality doesn't matter. What matters is your thoughts. If you see something in your world that you don't like, it's okay. Don't worry about how it manifested or how it showed up. That's okay. Just focus on what you want. Saturate your mind with that. It's already done. It's already complete. Don't worry about when it's going to come or what's going to happen or how it's going to work. That's just your logical mind trying to figure things out. There's no logic in manifesting. Just tell your logical mind, yeah, thank you. You're good at math and figuring out problems and solving things, but we don't need you right now. Logical mind, you need to focus on affirmations of what I want and just repeat those. I'm laughing because my logical mind always wants to figure out the how. How is that going to happen? How are you going to get that money? Right? Let it go. And I also realized that if you've been following my channel, I've talked a lot about how I've healed my own body issues like eczema and my knee pain and my skin. And I've had a lot of success ignoring my 3D world. So as I was itching my eczema, I would say my skin is so clear. My skin is 100% healed. I like using the word 100%. I don't know. It just makes me feel like very definite. And it worked. And now it's worked on healing my dog. And I'm realizing that my higher self has put these situations for me in place to really challenge myself and really challenge my faith. And I'm sure you can relate. When we have challenges that our higher self has put in our life, you know that it's for your greater good. You know, the phrase, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? You grow from these situations. And I've always had this, I call it a bigger manifestation. It's nothing's big or small, it's all relative. But I always used to think if I had a lot of money, like if I become a multimillionaire, what would I do with that money? And I would travel and do, buy all kinds of fun stuff and live a luxurious lifestyle. But one thing that I've always really wanted to do is find a family with a child that is struggling with a medical condition. Like they're in I see them in the hospital, their family is worried. The kid is going through something that I feel like kids should not have to go through, such medically challenging things. But, we're all on our personal journey, and I'm sure there's a reason why that child chose to go through a tough situation. That, everyone's individual. But regardless of that, that's a whole nother discussion. I would love to present money for this family in helps of their medical bills. I'm thinking like 10,000, 20,000, I don't know, whatever it needs to be, maybe even more. But I want to go to this family and say, an angel sent me to give you this money. And the only way you can accept this money is if you promise me one thing. And that is See your child as healed. Disregard that they're in this hospital bed, that they look a little under the weather, not as vibrant and bright as they used to. Ignore all of that and only see them as healed, happy, healthy. Tell that in your mind all the time. Think those thoughts. I don't know. I just know it would work for them, because when you have a whole community of people seeing someone as whole and healthy and healed, I mean, that's very powerful. And I think it would be a very powerful example for them. I could share that message with others. There's references in the Bible, and I wouldn't call myself religious, but there's stories of Jesus, saying that he would turn the other cheek. Like if he saw someone that was blind, he would see them as having their sight, and then their sight will restore, or they have leprosy and he would see them as healthy and their leprosy would go away. Like, I don't know, there's just something inside me that, yeah, show people that healing is possible for yourself and for your loved ones. And I'm seeing how this all is playing out. So, welcome along my journey and where I'm going. And I know for sure you will see references for yourself. There's a reason why you listened to my story and you were drawn to this video. There's something in here that you needed to hear for yourself, either for your own healing or someone around you's healing. Yes, hold the faith. Change your mind. Turn the other cheek. Ignore what you see. Saturate your mind with your desire. Famous. That's my doggy's name. Famous, you want to come over here? Oh, here he is. Nose is all healed up. My puppy. I like to think he's still a puppy. He's such a good boy. Like, comment, subscribe. See you in the next video.